This is Football Night in America, served by Applebee's.
Hello, everybody. Liam McHugh, Tony Dungy, Rodney Harrison, Mike Florio is with us as well. Steve Kornacki is going to break down some playoff probabilities in just a second. But let's begin at the top. The Kansas City Chiefs, they get another win. They knock off New Orleans. They don't blow them out as we nitpick Kansas City. And Drew Brees afterwards was asked, is he 100%? And he says no. Your big takeaway from this?
Well, if you're the Saints, are you looking at the glass half full or half empty? Hey, we played the best team in football. Our quarterback wasn't healthy. First game back, we had a lot of penalties. We didn't have Michael Thomas. Our best defensive player got kicked out of the game, and we only lost by 3 points. Or do you say, we're doing all those things, and we've got to stop, or we're going to continue this downhill slide?
Yeah, I've been knowing Drew Brees for a long time, and I know he's a highly competitive guy. But in a situation like that, if you're not 100%, you see your team is winning and having success with the other guy, as badly as you want to play, you still have to do what's right for the team. It's not about you at that individual moment. I applaud his toughness, but at the end of the day, you got to stick with Taysom Hill because Drew Brees didn't look ready to play.
No, he looked tentative at the beginning.
Very much
Looks
so.
like he wasn't totally uncertain if he wanted to throw the ball downfield. We saw the numbers there. Mike Florio, at this point, a little time, a few hours to digest it all. Your takeaway from this?
I'm stunned, frankly, that the guy who runs the show for the New Orleans Saints didn't prevent this from happening. Sean Payton typically is in full control of the team. He's a master of misinformation. They knew all week Drew Brees was going to start. They kept it quiet. The fact that he had taken the first team reps Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they finally announced Friday he's going to play and stunned everyone. The problem is he clearly wasn't ready to go. And I say this all the time when you've got the starter and you've got the backup. Whatever percentage the starter is below 100, what's the magic number before you go with the 100% backup? And I think with what we've seen from Taysom Hill, you better be pretty damn close to 100% if you're Drew Brees before you go with Brees over Hill. I'm stunned that the Saints did this. And I know they only lost by 3 points, but they would have won by double digits if Brees had been the guy that we're used to seeing.
It's interesting, too. You bring a quarterback in who's not 100% by his own words, and he doesn't even have his top receiver. Michael Thomas was out for this game as well. Wasn't long ago they were the top seed in the NFC. That's not the case anymore. Steve Kornacki after back-to-back losses. What are we looking at now?
Yeah, we're looking at Green Bay's number 1 seed to lose. Let's take a look here at the race for the number 1 seed in the NFC. You see Green Bay with a game on New Orleans, a 76% chance now that the Packers are going to end up with the top seed in the NFC and the bye that comes with it. If they win the next two, they get it. That's the easiest path for them. There are a lot of tiebreaker scenarios they could get to. Basically, if you're the Saints or if you're the Seahawks, by the way, it's the Seahawks, remember, who leapfrogged the Rams now to lead the NFC West today. So the Saints, Seahawks, the two other teams with a shot at the 1 seed. Obviously, you want Green Bay to lose out, but you're looking at Green Bay's schedule. The much more valuable Green Bay loss, if you're the Saints or Seattle, would be the Bears game because that's the conference game. And the conference loss for the Packers in some tiebreaker scenarios would help the Saints, would help the Seahawks. So Saints, Seahawks, they both got to win out. They got to get help from the Packers, and they would really like to see the Packers lose that Bears game to finish up the season. But again, at 76%, this is Green Bay's top seed to lose.
But the Bears are playing better now than they were 3 or 4 weeks ago when we saw them. They're playing much better.
Trubisky's confident. Back-to-back wins for the Chicago Bears. They beat Minnesota. A bad loss for Minnesota and their hopes for the playoffs. Let's bring it back to Seattle, though, Rodney, because they beat Washington. This is different, right? The formula at the beginning of the season for Seattle was outscore, put as many points on the board as you can, and hope to outscore the other team. It's not as fun. We don't see the fireworks. Are they better off playoff-wise if they can play this way, Seattle? And win
Liam, I don't know. Just get them in the playoffs. But I can tell you this. I'm extremely happy and proud for Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams, he told me today, he said everybody thought he was a bad guy. All he wanted to do was get into the playoffs and have an opportunity to play. Coaching, you played in a lot of playoff games, and so did I. It's nothing like the playoffs, especially to a guy as competitive as Jamal.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch him play. The way he plays in the regular season, the way he played for the Jets when they were winning 3 or 4 games a year, when he gets in these big games, he's going to be fun to watch. Carlos Carlos Dunlap is going to help them. That defense is playing better. And I think they are in better shape because we know, hey, Russell Wilson can explode at any time. DK Metcalf can explode. But if they can stop people, they're going to be hard to handle.
And also you start to see Carlos Hyde sneak in there and start getting some valuable yards running the ball as well.
Adams now at this point up to, 9.5 sacks on the season in 10 games.
That's crazy.
Let me just say something. I had a year when I had 6 sacks, and back then that was crazy for a defensive back. Now he's 9.5. Who knows what he finished? He might finish with 12.
Yeah, it's already a record for defensive backs. We saw how happy he was after the game. He said he didn't care about vacations. I'll pack up. He's so pumped up. He knows playoffs are normal in Seattle, not normal for him. It's the first time he's going, Mike Florio. Your read on Seattle and their situation after this game?
Well, look, they could get to the Super Bowl as easily as any other team in the NFC. It is so wide open. Every week we've got a different opinion on who the best team is. It goes from the Saints to the Packers to the Bucks to the Seahawks and back around again. And we may go back to the Seahawks if they can handle the Rams next week in what should be a huge game with the NFC West title on the line. But when I spoke to Russell Wilson after the game today, he agreed that it is really wide open, and he puts a lot of stock in the fact that they play so many games in the NFC West against great teams, and they finish with the Rams and the 49ers. Even though the 49ers are depleted, it's still not an easy game, and the 49ers are going to try to disrupt them as much as they can, and the Seahawks could be battle-tested and ready to roll when it's time to get to the playoffs.
You mentioned the week-to-week nature of the NFC and how we don't know which team it's going to be in what particular week. We know which team it's not this week, and it's not the Rams, because the Rams lose to the Jets. At this point, it was kind of unthinkable going in. The Jets are going to get the headline for the number 1 pick and for getting their first win and all that goes into that. The takeaway from the Rams side of this is what? Is
what happened, Rodney. I was shocked at that. Rams have been playing great defense. They're playing against Sam Darnold and the Jets offense that's not scoring a lot of points. They couldn't stop them early in the game. And then the Jets' defensive line totally dominated the Rams and stuffed their run game. And they put it on Jared Goff, and he couldn't deliver.
Yeah, earlier when I was watching the game, I wanted to put it on Sean McVay and say, hey, this is the reason why they lost, because he didn't have his team ready. But as a player on that team, especially when you know what's at stake, an opportunity possibly to get the number 1 seed, and you want that momentum riding into the playoffs, and for them to lose to a team like this, I put it on the head coach, I put it on the players. This will come back to definitely haunt them, Liam.
Mike Florio on the Jets side of things. Fast forward for me. Tomorrow morning, the Daily News, the New York Post, the headlines from the Jets. Any predictions?
Well, I probably nothing that we could repeat on this setting. But, I have a ton of respect for what the Jets did. It would have been so easy to just mail it in. And the Rams were bad, but the Jets had to at least try. They had to have effort, and they played in Seattle last week and got embarrassed. They had the near miss the week before that against the Raiders. It was so simple to just slump your shoulders and take loss, and be 0-16 and move on. And I got a ton of respect for what they did. I know Jets fans are upset because they want Trevor Lawrence, but I don't think you want 0-16 on your resume. Even though the Lions did it and the Browns did it, I don't think you want that anywhere near your team, and now the Jets will avoid it.
And that's exactly what it looked like. The Jets went out there with a purpose, and they played, and the Rams kind of thought they were just going to walk through it, and they couldn't handle it.
I played on a 1-15 team, and you don't want, Mike Florio's 100% right, you don't want that, because that stays with you for the rest of your life. So people will say, you know what, you played on that 0-16 team. You don't want no part of that. And when you win that one game, it's like winning the Super Bowl.
Let me play the role of a Jets fan here. Would I rather have Mike Florio's respect or Trevor Lawrence? I understand what
As a fan, you'd rather have Trevor
I understand what you're saying. It's a tough day for that.
Not many people, Liam, not many people have my respect.
I know that. We're all working on it, frankly.
I have his respect. Coach.
I was speaking for myself and Steve Kornacki.
2 out of 3.
Right.
2 out of 3. Well, 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4. I'll get
I'd
this.
rather have Trevor Lawrence.
Steve's in the respect.
Fine.
But you're not going to allow your team to go out there and lose, Coach.
Oh, absolutely not.
All right, so the Jets do get the win. Jacksonville, they lose again, and here we are, this Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. The numbers, what do they tell us?
Yeah, forget the playoff race. Here's the race for the number 1 draft pick. This is where losing is winning and winning is losing. So the Jets came into today with no wins on the year and a 74% shot at getting that top pick by upsetting the Rams. The odds of the Jets getting the top seed plummet down to 32%, and the big winner, if you will, in that circumstance, Jacksonville, by losing today with the Jets winning, The Jags' odds of getting that top seed climb from 26 to 68. So it is the Jags now and not the Jets who are in command of that number 1 draft pick. Now, again, look at the remaining schedule here. Bears, Colts for the Jags, Browns, Patriots for the Jets. If they both lose out, if they both finish 1-15, the Jags win the tiebreaker, meaning the tiebreaker that would leave them with the worst record and the top pick. That's the kind of tiebreaker we're talking about here. So that's a costly, from a draft position standpoint, a costly loss for the Jets. They're going to need the Jags to win one of these last 2 games, and the Jets are going to need to probably lose out themselves. That's how they could get it back. Otherwise, Jacksonville could be picking first.
I'm being told just 362 short miles between Clemson, South Carolina, and Jacksonville, Florida. So you can pack up, make the trip pretty quickly. And
I just noticed something in Steve's chart, though. If I'm the Patriots and I'm sitting there and I might not want to play against Trevor Lawrence for the next 10 years, do I sit my starters in that game and let the Jets win?
No. Absolutely not. Belichick will not do that. Absolutely not. Coach, I'm over here fired up right now. No way. What are you talking about? Would you do that?
I would think about it.
No, you would not, Coach.
But if you look at those teams, though, right? I mean, for the Pats, it's not going to matter. They're out at this point. The Bears are playing well now. The game counts for them next week, and it's almost certainly going to count, at least for seeding for the Colts.
Now, he may not say, I'm going to do that so Trevor Lawrence doesn't, but he might say, I really need to get a look at Jarrett Stidham and some of the backup offensive linemen this week and see what they can do.
He's already got Josh Allen and Tua in his division.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to add Trevor Lawrence on top of that.
Man, you gotta focus on what your team is doing. You know what I'm saying? You can't worry about what everybody else is doing.
All right, let's focus right now on the speed round. Are you ready? Mike Florio wasn't. He passed last week.
I remember that.
Yeah, we're not passing this time. Tony, you'll start us
Wait,
off,
this
all
is
right?
his show, and he's passed?
He passed. Came around. You passed too. You don't remember that? You passed right back to him.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
Speed round. Playoffs without the Pats is what?
Unusual. Very unusual. I can't remember one. 2008 maybe, right?
Right. It's going to be exciting to a certain degree. I mean, I can't wait to see Buffalo. And, a lot of hype, a lot of people believing in Buffalo. We'll see what happens.
Win the division for the first time in 25 years. Mike Florio, playoffs without the Pats is what?
Stunning, but at the same time, it's the punctuation on the greatness that we saw. And I think you can fully appreciate what they did by virtue of the fact that it's ended. It is ended. And it may last a few years before they get it back. And it just shows you how great they were during that generation where they were there year after year after year, except for 2008.
Stay in the AFC. Rodney, you'll start this one. With 2 weeks left, the Ravens are what?
I have to go with what Coach Dungy said. They are a very dangerous team. Like, Lamar is getting better. They're playing with a lot of confidence, and they're back having fun, smiling, laughing, and he's throwing the ball down the field to different receivers outside of tight ends.
I would say they're fired up because they know if they get in, they can do some damage, and they've just got to keep winning. Steve says if they keep winning, they've got the best shot. I would not want to play them. Right. I would not want to play them.
All right, Mike Florio.
Yeah, dangerous is right. And we've spent so much time worrying about the Ravens when they get to the postseason. Can they finally win a playoff game? Can Lamar Jackson win a playoff game? This is the best way for them to get a playoff game because they've already played 4 of them before they play their first one. So they're already in postseason form when the postseason rolls around.
All right, Mike, I'll start with you on this one. The Bears' offense with this iteration of Mitch Trubisky is what?
Not as horrible as it's been, which is good because they are showing signs of improvement. Trubisky's more confident. The benching was good for him. The offensive line is stabilized. They're using more under-center approach instead of shotgun. Nagy told me after the game that offense calls for shotgun 88% of the time, and it's working. And one thing Nagy said is now they have to be careful about their own tendencies. Now that they've been using this different approach for a few weeks, you want to stay ahead of the defense. That's going to be the challenge the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, don't overthink it. I had the game up there in Green Bay, and that was the biggest difference to me. 2018, they were running the football, and then Mitch Trubisky was making plays off the run. Get back to that. They're doing that. David Montgomery's been excellent since he's been back. That's what their offense should be all about.
Matt Nagy should give you half his check because you called it when you were calling that game. Said put them under center, run the ball more, and it just seems like the entire team they've responded.
Mitch can do some things when you go play action and get him out of the pocket, but it starts with running the ball, taking the pressure off that offensive line.
Still have a strong enough defense and still right in the mix. So, Steve Kornacki, let's finish with it. Right around that number 7 seed in the NFC. All right, make sense of this puzzle.
Let's take a look. Final wild card spot in the NFC. It's Arizona right now that has it. They're number 7. It's Chicago on the outside looking in at number 8, and it's simple for Arizona. If they could win out, that's a big if when you look at that schedule, but if they win out, they make the playoffs. Here is where it gets tricky, though. Look at next week. The Cardinals play the 49ers, and the Bears play who? The Jaguars. We're just talking about the Jaguars. Now they have the worst record in the league. If the Bears get the win next week and go to 8-7, the pressure's on Arizona. Because if Arizona loses that game to the 49ers and they're both 8-7, guess who has the tiebreaker? It's the Bears who have the tiebreaker. So they're both, look, the Packers and the Rams, they're both staring at very tough games in the last week of the season. But next week looks very interesting because the Bears have one of the easiest games any team has in the league next week. And the Cardinals have a much tougher task potentially against the 49ers. If you're the Cardinals, you really, really want to win that game next week because if you end up in a tie with the Bears, it's the Bears who are going to the playoffs.
Cardinals got a huge win over Philadelphia. It was Kyler and Jalen dueling it out. It was an exciting game. How much faith do you have in the Cardinals right now to finish this off and get in?
You know, they're still young. They're inexperienced in a lot of ways, but they have a quarterback who can make plays, and they've got a defense that can make some plays when they need it. I like where the Cardinals are right now.
I'm a little unsure about the Cardinals. I like the fact that Kyler Murray didn't have to have success running all over the place in order to throw for 400-plus yards. But I'm not a big fan of the defense. I still think there's a lot of gaping holes with the defense, so I'm a little unsure about the Cardinals.
All right, final thought, Mike Florio. Bold prediction, Chicago get that 7 spot, or do the Cardinals shore it up over the next couple weeks?
I think that the Bears will. They're trending in the right direction. The Cardinals have struggled, and they've got a couple of tough games, the 49ers and the Rams to end the season. I think the Bears can steal that spot.
Only 2 more football Sundays left in the regular season. We are going to have Green Bay and Tennessee on Sunday night. We will see you for that. I'm Liam McHugh for Tony, Rodney, Steve, and Mike. Thanks so much for watching.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.